Good afternoon, Counselor.
All right. Madam President, I hear you. Who else is here?
This is Rita. I'm here.
Welcome.
Counselor Rudd.
Rudd, I don't think that there are any other, no, I think that's it for counselors. All right, we are going to start with Chief Mont first, since he has less item than Chief Cecil. So, Chief Mont, take it away.
Okay, can you guys, everybody can hear me?
Yeah.
Hello,
Yes.
hello, everybody.
Hey,
I
Chief.
have two items. The first item is a waiver for Churchville Fire. What they do, they fix our personal protective equipment, our gear that we go into fires with. This equipment needs to be maintained to ensure the safety of our members when it gets ripped, torn, burned, or if some type of chemical, like sometimes tar falls on our equipment. So this company actually comes, gets our equipment, they stitch it or clean it up to this NFPA standard in order to make sure we can get the most use out of our equipment. So this waiver is for $30,000 for this fiscal year. Some years we spend up to 40,000. Some years it's been around 10,000. It depends on the usage and what happens with our firefighters when they're at these different fire calls. So that's
Chief,
the
can I
first.
ask a question about that?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
Councilman.
because you said you could spend up to 40,000 and the least amount would be 10.
Yes.
So for this period, is this our fiscal year? Is it in between that COVID, and why is it still so high?
30,000 is it's enough to have enough money based on we have 700 approximately 700 sets of coats and pants and all of our different, it's called turnout gear, and it depends on what types of calls we go on. We might not use this $30,000, but we need to have that in the
Okay,
budget to be able to fix if we go on a
okay.
string of calls and people get their equipment.
So up to 30.
Yes, yes, ma'am, up to thirty
Okay,
thousand
because I
dollars.
heard you say that the maximum for the full term is 40. So okay, that's why I questioned 30.
Oh, sorry, I was saying in previous years we have spent up to 40,000, but this year we're projecting not to go over 30,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chief,
And
Chief, is this what is done every year? We waive it?
this is a every year situation where every year we have to have our we have to have somebody come and take care of our equipment. If we buy a brand new set of a coat and it rips, the gear lasts 10 years. So if somebody gets a brand new coat this year and it's ripped by a door or some glass, we send it, or they actually come pick the stuff up. They take it back to their factory. They stitch it up according to the standard, because this has to meet a certain standard in order to go into a fire situation. So they take care of all the standards that we need to meet. So
So with that, I think from our last committee or a committee before that, we had talked about waiving uh, uh, a waiver for you for for those that you get the uniform from. Now, is this different? Is this a different?
um, yeah, this is different. My uniform, the one we talked about before, so we can have shirts like this, like station uniforms to wear around. They're blue, and some of them are
Mhm.
white, like I have. These are the coats we actually wear inside to go into a fire to fight a fire. Or you'll
So,
see us with our pants on and they have the suspenders, or it could be our helmet and we have a hood. So there's an ensemble that constitute our personal protective equipment, which is we call it turnout gear. So you put it on when you go into a fire. So that was for a uniform,
uh-huh.
station uniforms. This is for actual firefighting gear, basically.
Okay. Okay. Now this is for. Yeah, go ahead, Rod. Was did Rod ask? Want to
No,
ask
I
something?
didn't. I wasn't asking anything.
Okay. So is this just for one station, Chief, or is it for the all
This
departments?
this is department wide. So all the stations, when they have, we have a training division, and they maintain all of our gear. They order the gear. When there's an issue with the gear, say we have a failure and somebody gets hurt, any equipment that they have, they take it over to our training division, and they oversee our whole management of all of our personal protective equipment. And when they deem that there's something that could be a hazard, if there's a rip in a coat or pants or some of the other parts of the gear, if they look at it and they feel like a firefighter would go into a fire and get burned because of that hole, we send that equipment out to get fixed by Churchville.
Okay.
So they're kind of like a seamstress or a tailor for your clothes. It's with our firefighting gear, basically what they do.
So how much did you spend on this last year?
I believe I got to double check. I believe Diane Nashry told me it was between $7,000 and $12,000.
Okay. And I take
How
that.
much that repaired?
Can you say that again? Sorry, I
How
couldn't
many
hear.
repairs that constituted?
Yes, they're all repairs that need to be done to the gear so it meets the standards so the firefighters can wear it. Yes.
Number of repairs. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that.
Well, could we just have the dollar amount for the last year and the number of repairs from the last year?
Definitely. I'll get that information for you of how many gears were repaired and the dollar amount.
Chief,
Yes.
now I
Yes.
have to come back to you because, okay, so last year you spent between 7 and 12, you said.
Yes.
So why are we pushing it out to 30? I mean, I know it's not to exceed it. I know you may not spend that much, but why the 30?
Some years we went over the 30,000, Madam President, to 40,000. So it's a number that we feel based on the how old our equipment is. Them looking through our equipment, figuring out what our training division feels like we're going to need to maintain our equipment for the year.
Okay, so you need more sets of the gear then? Are you saying that you're going to have to purchase more sets of gear?
Every year we have a schedule with how many sets of gear we buy, but we could buy a brand new set of gear, but the first day that gear goes into service, it could get ripped. You know, somebody could rip a nail in the floor when they're crawling around a fire, and that equipment needs to go out and get fixed. So the useful life of this gear is 10 years. So anything pretty much under 9 years, we send out to get fixed so we can get the useful life of it, because instead of ordering a new set when we don't have to.
So when you send this back, are you all set, Madam President?
I'm just one more question, right?
Okay,
Because
go ahead.
so if you budget in for this 30,000, and just for argument's sake, just let's say you use 15,000, where does the other 30 go? Back into the general fund?
The other 15, it might go
I mean, 15.
like with our equipment, it's kind of hard to predict and to have concrete to say how many axes are going to break or how many, we don't know how many.
No, that's not what I'm saying. So let's just say once this fiscal year is done, if you only spent 15, where does the other 15 go?
I guess if there's no other glaring needs, we give it right, and it gets turned back in afterwards, Madam President. Or throughout the year, if there's a need or an emergency that comes up, we put in a transfer request between accounts to see if we can get that switched over to a different account for something else that might be a need at that time.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
just to stay with Madam President question, Chief. Now, last year you said you only use about 7,000 of that.
I believe,
What happened to the leftover?
I can double check on that, but between our maintenance division and our training division, there's a lot of different tools and equipment besides this particular item that that money might have been. I got to double check to see what actually the account that this money was in, where that money was dispersed to. I'll look into that.
Is there language around this in terms of it being restricted fund towards specific use, or is it,
No.
or you can use it after?
this is money. It's just it goes and sits in a particular account for this need, and I would say most of this money would just, if it doesn't get used, it goes. It either it's requested by me to be used in a different situation, or the money is just at the end of the fiscal year. It's in the account to balance out other accounts, I would say.
So I'm asking this because I think as we approve it here, if it's approved for a specific purpose, and like Madam President say, I think instead of using it on other things, it shouldn't be used on the other things. I don't know what the other councilors are feeling, but
Councilman Joke, I do believe it goes back into the general fund.
Yeah.
okay.
And I would say if we are going to use it, we request to use it, and some of those requests come through the council, some of the requests go through budget, but more than likely, the money doesn't get spent on other things that it isn't authorized to. I would say that.
Councilman Joke,
Yes.
this is Deputy Mayor. The procedure is that if the money is unspent, it'll go back into the general fund. If it is a request for a specific use under a particular account, if it's not used for that purpose, and he finds another place that the money could be used, he would have to come back to the council to ask for it to be transferred to another account.
Excellent. Okay. All right. That answered my question. Now, councilors, any more questions here on this point?
No.
All right, Chief, let's move.
I just have one other item, and that is for Jerome Fire. They're the sole distributor of our self-contained breathing apparatus. We have 180 of these units, and this waiver is for them to provide repair services to make sure our apparatus is breathing and works properly when we're using it, and for any repairs that needs to happen. They also provide a mandatory flow test to make sure that when we have our SCBA on our face and on our backs, that the correct amount of air is going into our face piece. So they provide that service, and that cost is approximately $100,000. And I'll look into how many times. I mean, we have they service each of our SCBA units. We have 180 of them. We have 180 plus face masks that go on our face. So we have several pieces of equipment, and I know to Councilor Rudd's point, I'll get how many times we've used this service and everything that we do with this waiver. But they're the only authorized company to actually provide this service to us.
How many of them do we have, Chief?
We have 180 SCBAs that go on our pack. They're like a backpack, but inside those packs, we have air cylinders that go in the packs. We have our face pieces. So there are different components to this SCBA system. So, and all of them need a, they're one of the most important things that we have as firefighters. To breathe the air when we go into the fire, and that allows us to actually go into the fire and have air to breathe.
Is there enough of those, Chief? I mean, let me ask you this question, because there would be no way that all 180 would be used at the same time unless there's a massive burn, right?
No, we have approximately 74 of them are on duty, ready to, they're in use right now on duty, and then we have spares. So as Jerome Fire Equipment comes and tests the equipment from the mandated testing, or if someone's having a problem, each fire station has spares, because if you go in and things just aren't, when you test it in the morning at the beginning of your shift, if there's any issues with it, they're mandated to take that SCBA out of service and send it over to training. And this Jerome Fire Equipment comes and goes through and see what the problem is, because if usually when there's a fire fatality, one of the reasons why firefighters die in a fire is because of failure of their SCBA system. So this Jerome is a third-party vendor who verifies all the standards that we have to meet, and it helps our firefighters make sure that their equipment is safe.
So 180 is enough.
Yeah, 180 is enough. I got to remember when's the next time we have to buy some of these, but we buy them every so often, 10 or 12 years. I can't remember the actual date when the next time we have to buy them, but we buy them all at once, and then we keep them all in service for the same amount of time.
Thanks.
But I'll get the information on this particular waiver on the different types of uses and all the services that they provide for us. Does anybody else have any other questions regarding this?
No, I think that should be it for me. Counselors?
Oh, that's it for me.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. If nothing, I'll ask that we move them. Counselors, Red?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
You too.
You too.
Deputy Chief Cecil, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, Counselor.
Okay, I receive it from you that we will remove the item that is 25. Is it the Black Lives Matter item?
Yes, item
Or is it
number
different?
10. Yes.
Number 10.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna pull that and it's out of the list. Okay, go ahead. Start from the beginning.
Okay, so item 3 is to enter into an agreement with the trauma response team. This is more probably Janet Burke, I believe she's on here, can probably speak more to this. So I believe
Okay.
Tim Jennings is on right now who can speak more eloquently about this program.
And so am I.
Hi, yeah, this is Janet, and Tim was probably, this is our annual that we've had with the trauma response team for several years. And any questions, and Tim is here and he'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, is there a report on this stuff every year, Tim, at all?
Yes. Well, monthly. Monthly, every 2 weeks, there are reports that's turned in. So as of right now, to date, with the trauma response team, we have 30 participants between the ages of 11 and 25 years old. So we have an in-school population and out-of-school population and various zip codes around the city. And those in school, 88% of our clients pass with a 75 average or better, even in the midst of COVID.
Okay, so when you talk 88%, what's the total?
The total of what?
Participants.
Oh, the 30 participants.
So is that the average for a year?
Yeah, it's about 30 families. So you have to include the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is 150.
Okay.
That we service
And we service 150 families
monthly in that
every
program.
A year.
in that program monthly.
Monthly. Okay, and I see here there's only one coordinator,
Yep.
and then the rest are based on contracted, or what is it?
Yeah, we have outreach people on the ground that have direct contact with the children and the families.
Okay.
And they carry a caseload
Of 10
of 10 permanent slots
flex slots.
and 5 flex slots.
Okay. Counselors? Anything? All right.
So because
Thank you. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, because I've been personally involved with the trauma team for probably the last 15 years. And I think that Noble's been a little modest, because yeah, they're working with the kids and they're working with 30-year-olds, but they're also out in the middle of the night when there's things happening within the communities and on the streets too. So it's a lot bigger scope than just, that portion that was just told.
Okay. Okay. Now, no, and thank you for that, Madam President. I think I have known Noble a while too. I just don't know the depths of what he does, but I understand the importance of what he does.
But I'm going to ask that there be a report submitted to the council or a presentation, and then that way we'll get a better understanding.
Yes, that was actually a question. Thank you. Noble?
Oh, yes. Anytime that the councilors see fit, whether it's Zoom or in person, if the COVID numbers permit us to, we would love to come and do a presentation to explain the full scope of the work from the past and as it leads up to the present day.
Yeah. Okay, and then if there are from the previous years any written report, if you can send them to us, that would be good. That would be great. I would like to read a little bit more on it.
Okay.
For example, I would just add that, like, right now in the council, the papers that we have, all we have is the budget, so we could see how you spend the money. But if you just had like a similarly short, like 1-page summary of what you get with the money, that would just be useful for us to have, so we can articulate with those numbers the value. Like kind of what you were saying would be perfect if there was like a table that you could populate and share with us. That would be really helpful.
Yes. Yes.
Not a problem.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Noble.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And thank you, Janet. Chief Cecil, I think that should be it. Everyone is all set on this.
Okay, sounds good. Before I move on to 4, I just want to echo what Madam President said. We have used trauma response team and enlisted them on multiple occasions where they would have been more effective than us, meaning things at the mall, things in the library downtown, Valley Field Days, all kinds of things where we enlisted them. And because of their experience and interaction with folks and their knowledge of folks and their personal, basically just having personal relationship with individuals,
Absolutely.
they have been much more effective than the police.
Good.
Just one thing that they do on your agenda today, but they have been very valuable to the police department.
Good. Good. Thank you.
So item number 4 is an amendment to an ordinance that we put in front of you a few weeks ago. It's to enter into an agreement with the U.S. DOJ for a grant to buy body cams, 113 body cams to be exact. The reason it's being amended is because, and Frank Colito could probably speak better on this, but we discovered, and when I say we, I'm being liberal on that, it was really Frank that discovered it, that we don't have to use matching grant money, matching city money, but we can actually use personnel costs or anything associated with implementing the program, whether it's training or IT work or maintenance. And I don't know, Frank, if you want to expound on that, it's up to you.
Sure, and I won't take the credit for this. The approved budget at DOJ was for an in-kind match, and the ordinance that was put in front of you originally was for a cash match. So we're simply switching that so that the ordinance matches the approved DOJ budget.
Councilor Rod, anything?
That'll sound great. Are the cameras the same as what we have? Or different? I'm sure we asked this before, but I forget.
Yes, they are. They're the upgrade. They're the body 3s. We currently have what's called the 2. It's the body 3, which comes with extra speakers and digital, all kinds of extra digital and technology stuff that comes with them, including a GPS system built right into it. We currently have, just so you know, Councilor, we currently have 57 of those that we are now about to roll out. We were just trying to get the infrastructure in first. And these next 113 will obviously bring us up to 170. And then we have additional contracts that are going to push us beyond that to either 238 or we're even talking close to 268 now. But they are different cameras than the ones we currently have.
Okay. So
Are they
they're
all
different, but they
compatible,
would be the
Chief?
standard
I'm
for
sorry.
what we have moving forward.
Oh, they're an upgrade to what we have. They're the identical company. It's Axon. It's the same, pretty much the same camera with a bunch of advancements that they've made over since we and we never purchased the other ones. We're on that free trial period, but we've been into that for about 1.5 years, and they've made significant advances in these body cams. So it's the same camera with a lot of technological and even hardware advancements in it.
Do we actually buy, or are we sort of like leasing them perpetually?
Nope, we bought the 57 we bought, the 113 we will be buying, and the ones that push us into that higher number I mentioned. From this moment on, we're buying them.
Okay, thank you. Madam President, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just curious because so the older cameras you're doing away with and bringing on the new ones, Chief? Or you're
Yes,
going to keep all of them?
No, the cameras that we have currently right now are, again, Axon offered a free 1-year trial period. We are close to 1 year and 3/4 right now, and here coming close to 2 years. They've been pretty good with us, not pulling back on those, but we don't own those. We've never owned them. They're free.
Okay.
So once we start implementing these purchase funds, those will go away. But it doesn't mean our numbers will not go up because again, we're on target with contracts to purchase either 238 or move into the 268 range.
So,
Okay.
Counselor, if I could talk to the chief here. Now, so Chief, does that mean as far as maintenance goes, you're not going to have any problem, even though we're leaving that? It seems like we're aging out of that one vendor, and we're going to, because we're buying our own cameras, we have the technical expertise to repair cameras.
We have some technical expertise, Counselor. It'll be a 5-year contract. I will tell you that Axon, even during the free trial period, if we had a camera go down that we couldn't fix ourselves, we simply sent it back. And before they even received it, they were sending us a new one.
So we are re-upping the contract with Exxon then?
We've never had the only contract we've had with them is the free trial period. So we are moving from a free trial period to purchasing cameras now for a 5-year contract.
We're staying with the same vendor, Counselor.
Yeah.
We're staying with the same vendor, even, and they're going to take care of the maintenance of the cameras then.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. If it is something beyond what we can handle, yes,
Okay.
they will. Again, what I'm telling you is they hardly ever fix anything. They basically just send us a new one. They've been very good about that, even though we were on a free trial period. I'm sure they'll be even better when we're purchasing the cameras.
So when do you expect everybody on the street will have a camera?
Right. It's hard. Listen, it's hard to say. Okay. Because keep in mind, it's not a matter of just slapping them on. There's infrastructure, meaning the docking stations have to be installed. The docking stations for the 57 already been installed. We are moving on this week toward the training. Officers have to be trained on this new camera because there are different buttons and things of that nature. And then once they're trained, they will be outfitted with them. So if you're talking about all 238, I would like to think we could have that completed by the end of this year, but that's not a hard target. There are a lot of variables involved in this body cam thing. But
Yeah, I understand. The logistics here has got to be really tough, but now what, just as a matter of fact, I mean, when you deploy your police, like in the 3 platoons, would you be able to determine how many officers each night have cameras and how many don't? Like,
yeah, we sure. We always know that. We know exactly who has them, who doesn't, because they're assigned to individual officers. If you're asking if we can that, if we know that in advance, sure, we know it. We can check on it. Our goal here, though, is to outfit every single uniformed officer, so there won't be an issue of that. Every officer that leaves roll call, gets into his or her car, and gets on the street is going to have one when this program is fully implemented.
okay, and you'll let us know when that happens, right, Chief?
Well, we'll give you progress reports all along. Sure, no
Okay.
problem.
Thanks, Chief.
Yep.
Now, Chief, I got 2 questions. One is a follow-up. Now, you said that we will be doing the repair. Now, we have the necessary expertise to be able to do that in-house, right?
Well, here's the thing. The hardware of these cameras hardly ever break. You can pretty much throw them in the air and let them slam on the ground. It's the technology that goes down. And we have some very good IT people that have been able to fix them in the past, whether it's a network issue or something like that. So, but if it's beyond that, again, we just send it back. They send us a new one.
Okay. And I don't know if Councilor Rudd has already asked this, but have a report already on the progress report on the one that we already have yet?
The 57?
Yes, the one that we're already in use. Didn't we have like 100 and some 10 cameras on or something like that?
Yeah, the 110 are the free trial period ones.
Okay.
Again, keep in mind, they will eventually be going away.
Okay.
Axon's being very good with us right now, saying they're not going to pull them back, but we're entering purchasing contracts now, and eventually they're going to say, we want all those free ones back. So I want to be clear on this. It could be that for a while we're going 1 for 1 with these cameras, meaning we're putting a purchase one out there and they're taking away the licensing for a free one. So I don't want everyone to think that suddenly we're going to go beyond that 110 number. We will certainly make that number pass by the end of the year. But for a while, you may see a 1-for-1 exchange of a free camera for a purchased camera.
Okay, so the 238 will not include the 110?
Well, it won't include those ones because those are all going back.
Okay.
We're purchasing 238 of the new body 3s. But what's going to go back is the 110. The total. Let me put it this way: the total number is 238, or possibly more than that now. We're kind of strategizing on other units that interact with the public on a regular basis, so maybe more than that. So we should just kind of concentrate on the total number, not worry about whether it's the 110 free ones or the purchased ones. We will be moving to our high number of 238 or beyond that, so that every uniformed officer and even every officer that interacts with the public on a regular basis will have one of these outfitted with.
Okay.
Excellent.
And the report on and as I was asking, the report on 110, we should time anytime soon, right? Or do we already have it?
Well, yeah. So I can give you the report. Right, the 110 are out there right now. They're still on the body. They're still on the officers. Is that what you mean? They've never.
Yes. Just how they have worked and all of that. The analysis of, since you said this pilot, right? 110s are a pilot. So just to be able to see, what's a report on the progress so far.
Okay, we can come up with a written report. I would tell you that the program has been highly successful. Not only does the community enjoy having these cameras on the officers, but the officers themselves, as I've mentioned before, have done 180s on these things. When we first rolled them out, we had to go by what was called reverse seniority, younger officers first, because the senior officers didn't want them. The veterans officers didn't want them. There's been a complete 180 out there where officers all want them. They're requesting them, which again, I think is a complete success. If the community wants them and the police officers want them, I think we have a success right there. But I can certainly go into more detail in some written report. We should have that. Any pilot should end with that, so I can do that.
And I think it would be good for the sake of transparency, Chief. If you can have that be generated to be available to us and maybe the public, it would just, I think it would be helpful.
Yep, that's a great idea.
All right. Now,
Chief,
is there? Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Counselor. It just occurred to me, Chief. Oftentimes the only time we see any kind of video from police cameras when something goes wrong. But obviously there's hours and hours of police camera where the officers perform amazing deeds in real life situations, and we appreciate their efforts. We had a training. We had a subject of a public safety meeting yesterday and training. Do you often use any of this live footage as instruction as far as training goes with our police officers at all? The video that's captured.
Sure, we absolutely do. We absolutely do that both in the academy, in-service training. Sometimes if we see something, and keep in mind, these things are what we call audited. This footage is checked on a regular basis to see what's going on out there. And if we perhaps see an officer doing something that we think is unsafe or out of policy, then we will use that for training as well.
That's a good point. I don't think the public's aware of that you use it as an ongoing tool to monitor, not only monitor, but to teach too. That's excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Chief.
Okay. Right. Any more, or are we set? Counselors?
Thank you, Counselor.
All right. Chief, move on. Thank you.
Sure, thanks. So number 5 is to enter into an MOU with OCC. We're trying to enter into an agreement with them so that we can use their facility for our next academy to actually train the academy right up there. I'm sure all of you know it has a great facility up there, a gym, great places to run, classrooms, everything we need to train an academy. So we're requesting permission to enter an MOU into an MOU with OCC. The MOU has been almost completed. I think there's still a few red lines on here that the attorneys are working through, but at this point there's no cost involved. It's going to just be an MOU with no monetary costs involved at all.
Excellent.
Counselors? It's just for one class, Chief?
Well, I think it would be for moving forward. As we move forward, we would no longer train in the public safety building, but we'd move right on to the OCC and every academy after that.
And when is that for, Chief, or is it just for when is this for?
The
This year?
MOU?
Yeah.
The MOU, yeah, the MOU is for, I think it's for 1 year. I think it's, the term on it is 1 year.
Start whenever coronavirus let us do it, right?
Yes, whenever we get approval from you and then whenever we can actually do it.
All right. I think.
Sorry,
Yeah.
was there
Keep going.
questions on them? Want me to keep going?
No, I think when there's no place attached to it, Tim Rudd is really happy. So let's get going.
Thank you.
Number 6 is a request to waive the RFP for a cost of $25,000 to use Cedar Path Solutions as we have in the past numerous times. They are the ones that have installed every one of our well over 500 street cameras throughout the city now. And we're just asking for this waiver of RFP for $25,000 so that they can continue working on installation, integration, upgrades for those cameras that are already in existence.
Counselors?
Chief, do you have a number of upgrades that has to be done? Because some of those cameras have been in there for a while.
That's a great question, Madam President. We keep a running list of those. And they are reaching, many of them have reached their life expectancy and they're starting to go down, and sometimes they're down during critical situations. So we keep a database of them. We keep going out trying to bring them back to life. We have replaced some of the very, very oldest ones on the west side. We've increased our budget so that we can continue to do that. But yeah, you're right. They are getting old, and we have to have a plan to replace them moving forward, because we have, as I mentioned, well over 500 of them now.
Over 500 of them. So I'm going to ask this question. Maybe I shouldn't ask it on this open line, but how many of them are inoperable?
I don't know, standing in front of you right now, how many are inoperable. I know that we have 2 people that go out every day, try to determine if they are, or check them online and see if they've switched positions or have just shut down. But I don't know that standing in front of you, because it's a day-to-day thing. Again, some critical incidents which were not captured on street cams because we were unaware that they happened to be down that day. So it's a day, the number can fluctuate from day to day.
I've said this kind of in the past, but the allocation in the past has always been on political will. So a group of neighbors will ask for cameras. An elected official usually takes upon the cause and gets them the cameras where they want them. But then it results in a system that isn't always the most strategic in terms of placement, in my opinion, in terms of like traffic patterns or use. I don't know how the police department gets the capacity to do it, but to the extent you can make a plan for like an investment plan for the cameras for where you should have cameras in order to maximize their effectiveness, I think that would be very beneficial and valuable.
Yep, that makes sense.
That it? All right, Chief, keep on.
Okay, number 7 is a donation. We're asking to accept a donation from Armored One. This is the company, the local company up in Eastwood that has developed and installs glass. Well, I shouldn't say installs. They make the glass, they don't install it. But they make a glass that's like impervious, not bulletproof, but impervious to basically sledgehammers or anyone trying to enter. When they found out that we had 3 panels of our PSB damaged and we were about to purchase the glass, they stepped forward and offered it's just over $4,700 worth of glass. But the caveat is they do not install. So Bonton would do the installation. However, the original cost of the glass and installation was $3,700. We are, with just having to pay the installation of $1,200, we're saving $2,500 by accepting this donation.
Do we have insurance on that, Chief?
Insurance on the building?
Yeah.
I don't, it's a county building, so I would imagine they're self-insured just like us. But we own parts of it, and I think it was, I think that the glass, I don't, I'm gonna look into that because it seems like we were responsible for the repairs.
Yeah, let me, Chief Cecil, Council President Hudson, let me ask Frank to look into that, the actual
Okay.
agreement.
Yeah, because I know somebody bust my window out my house, my insurance will cover it, so I was just curious.
Yeah, I'll ask Frank to, if anything, we could, even if the council chooses to approve this, we can see what insurance reimbursables we can get possibly. I'll ask him to look into that.
There's probably a deductible as well that you should look into.
Yeah, I'll follow up with Frank Kaliva.
It's also it may be a county building, but it's a county building that we pay for via the abstract. So it's really, I feel like it's our building at this point, but I'm sure technically it's some other legal status, but we pay.
The relationship in that building is an anomaly to me, so I'll ask somebody who can look into that.
It's the anomaly to the people that signed it too. Having been on the council a long time, so.
Right.
Enigma wrapped in a question mark.
Yeah.
No, I'm just whatever.
Good going, Winston.
So we're gonna wait until for Frank to come back with those answers, and then we can move on with it.
That's fine, Counselor. It's just that we still have a boarded up window. I just want to make sure we're just asking for this donation right now, the approval of the donation, not the approval of the $1,200. The installation comes from Bonton, and Bonton is actually one of the vendors in PeopleSoft. So perhaps we could just approve the $4,700 donation. Maybe we don't need it. And then we will check, the deputy mayor and myself can check. For all I know, the county is planning on paying for the installation. I don't know I didn't really even look into that part of it. I just wanted to get this.
Okay.
I just as a matter of course, I would think that we would want to get that repaired as soon as possible. It being the police department, be nice to go ahead without maybe checking on stuff. Just get it done. Just a personal opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I don't think it will take Frank long to check on this. So I think we should just keep it moving, or otherwise, if feel.
And moving it, and if the answer changes that we don't like, we can always just not move it.
Right. Right. Okay.
I go
right.
TC, so it's a self-insured building. I'm sure the county will facilitate or help us in any way possible.
Yeah. All right, Chief, are you all set, Councilor Hogan?
Yes, thank you, Councilor.
Okay, Chief, keep going.
Okay, number 8 is we're requesting the waiver of an RFP for Mohawk Valley Information Technology. They are the people that have developed and maintained our website for many, many years, and we're just asking for that to continue. The expenditures not to be more than $1,500, and it's for support, maintenance, and increased and improved development of the police department's public website.
Is that for a year, Chief?
It's for a year, yes.
Okay. So do we waive it every year?
We have ever since I think since they created the website, yes. We have been putting them on to continue to maintain it.
Okay. Councilors?
I'm okay.
I don't have to fight the wave of competitive bid in me this afternoon.
The bike trip tired you out, Councilor.
I can only go for a bike ride before a public safety.
It'll teach you.
All right, I think that's it, right, Chief? One more.
Oh, yeah, there's one more. Yeah, so this is unfortunately another waiver, but I can argue this one pretty eloquently. It's for the Camillus Animal Hospital. We've been taking our canine partners there for many, many years. The vet clinic has treated them for so many years now that they are very experienced in the physical and mental health and well-being of a police dog as opposed to just a pet. So we have been going back to them every year and trying to get a waiver because of that expertise. Whether it's food or surgery or anything that they need to do, they really have extended, according to our head canine guy who is in charge of it for 25 years, they have extended the lives of several of our canine dogs because of their treatment. It's for $15,000. And again, it's a waiver for the Camillus Animal Hospital.
And again, this is what we do every year, right?
It is.
Well, because I don't feel like that's a great rationale for waiver of competitive bid, because after you do it a few times, you probably it almost undoes the justification for it. But could you speak to why you think Camillus is like so good when there seem to be other like vet opportunities? I know that when I take my dogs to the vet, I feel like I'm getting hosed wherever I go, so I like to shop around. Sure.
Yeah, so it is. It is just that, Counselor. It's because of the fact that that's what they treat. Our dogs have been going there. Now, maybe the first year I couldn't make this argument, but they've been going there for so many years that they know what type of food the dogs need, what type of medicine they need, what type of preventative surgery, not preventative surgery, but preventative maintenance to keep these dogs active. Even stuff related to stress. These dogs would go through a tremendous amount of stress other than just a pet dog, and they really know. The reason I'm making the argument is that, again, the canine expert, Timmy Stepien, the sergeant, told me that he believes they have extended the working life of these dogs, where he doesn't believe other vets could do so. And I'd certainly, he would be able to speak more eloquently about that. But I guess every dog's not the same and every vet's not the same. And certainly canines do a totally different job than your pet.
I see the otter diligently hanging out in our meetings lately. I just wanted to ask him, agnostic of dogs, the item. At what point do you think counselors should be more concerned about waivers of competitive bid? Like, do you think it's after 4 years? I mean, do you have any gut feelings around what's appropriate or inappropriate for waivers of competitive bid in the bigger discussion, not immediately tied to dogs? Please, dogs.
Right. Well, thank you for asking. Both as a counselor and as an auditor, this question has come up often. And President Hudson, in the years that she and I were on the council together, she was always asking about the waivers. And I made myself a note to look into the volume of waivers and the substance of those waivers. So I defer my answer at this point in time to tell you that I'll look into it and get back to you. And while I have you, if I can, for a moment, you were right, Councilor Rudd, the abstract is part of the building. I think you'll find in the abstract that the city rents space per the abstract for the police in that building, but it belongs to the county under the current abstract guidelines, I believe. And secondly, I'd like to just to piggyback on what President Hudson said and Chief Cecil regarding Noble and the trauma team. Again, I had experience as a counselor to engage and to get to know Noble and what the work of the trauma team. And I commend him for the work and the volunteers and the other people that he works with. It makes a huge difference, as been mentioned. I would ask one question though, if I may. President Hudson had always talked about in the trauma situation, when somebody has been is deceased as a result of the trauma, the release of the body to the family has been delayed significantly over time and left for the families to grieve. And I believe that's part of the personal trauma as I understood it over the years. So I would ask that, has there been any update to that?
No, it is still part of the personal trauma, Nader. It is still part of the trauma that we get access to the medical examiner's office so that these families can get in. And I'm gonna tell you, it traumatizes me every time I stand with a family and look at all these dead bodies.
I know, I remember you saying that. That's why I asked the question, President. Something ought to be done about that.
I agree.
All right, Chief. Rod, are you all set?
Sir.
Okay. Chief, I take that's it for you.
Yep, I think that's the last one. Yep.
Okay. Well, if nothing else, Councilor Rudd, I want to move everything forward. Move them out of here.
Bye-bye.
Unless if you want to keep looking at them. You want to keep looking at them?
No, I'm too busy with the travel policy.
Okay.
Hey, Tim, you look a little tired. Are you sleeping these nights?
Who, me?
I
Yeah.
sleep. I just went for a bike ride, remember? It's just too much for me.
I thought the two babies kept you
I
going.
trimmed my beard. I think it makes me look more tired.
Did you have a travel policy for that bike ride there, Councilor Rudd? Did you have a travel policy for that bike ride of yours?
I know. I should get some mileage, right?
Yeah.
Don't even submit the mileage. Uh-oh.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Yes, you guys.
Thank you. All right. Have a good one. Thank you, Chief Cecil. Thank you, Chief Man. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.
Josiah?